you are in a meeting, Salah times comes in. What do? You're in a board meeting, maybe with big bosses around you. Do you excuse yourself? Or you just have to say you'll delay the Salah because you cannot get out of that room? Mariam?
Depends.
With
the
what?
reality
The
is
boss?
depends.
Or the environment?
It shouldn't, but it depends. It shouldn't depend.
Accustomed to them knowing that you have to do perform your Salah at that time?
Yeah. It shouldn't actually depend. Naturally, we are Muslims, so we just don't live in a Muslim country, but naturally as Muslims, we're supposed to break for Salah, but it will depend on the kind of work you're doing, the boss you have, the nature of your work. It will depend with a lot of things. But alhamdulillah, like Somalis, they take the crown for always breaking, whatever they are, they will stand and they'll just pray, whoever their boss is. So we just need to learn from that. But again, it depends with a lot. There are people who can lose their job because of just a small thing of, it's my time to pray.
Yes. And would you have to explain yourself or just excuse yourself, Nanina Waila?
Rahma, I'm a firm believer of getting into spaces and immediately marking the boundaries and letting the people around me understand that I will build my life around Salah and I will not build Salah around my life. So the moment you get into spaces and you make that very clear and it doesn't change, it's the same time every other day. Salah is the same time every other day. There's Zuhur, there's Asri, there's Maghrib for some shifts that go into Maghrib. Then the environments are able to make a provision for that. And so I'm a firm believer of just communicating, and carrying yourself as a Muslim and knowing that you have these obligations. That so that things, when arrangements are made, they are made to accommodate you.
And alhamdulillah for the constitution of our country, that we have a right to religion and beliefs and issues like such in terms of prayers or what time to do your religious practices is actually given that room. Mariam, having this topic on faith versus 8-to-5 job, I believe we have a number of women who are working women right now, from last generation to the upcoming generation. And alhamdulillah, it has given us a lot of opportunities and potential. Kwanza, Nawaila, thank you so much for this time to join us on this conversation on our podcast and Annisa Talk Show. And I believe we are both working women. Maybe from my experience, ni kwamba, alhamdulillah, since my first job, I've been in a kind of an Islamic companies and sijapata hii challenge kwamba utasikia wengi wanakwambia mara nyingi najihisi ni kana kwamba ninafaa nitafute nafasi ama kipembe niweze kuperform swala, hususan kama sasa wakati wa Ramadhan ambapo labda apart from swala zile fardh kuna na kule kuifungua Qur'an na kusoma. How free are you, Mariam and Nawaila, kuweza kuperform this kind of ibada between hii time ambapo uko kwenye kampuni ama kwenye kazi ya mtu umeajiriwa? How do you find it?
Okay. So I'll go first. Alhamdulillah. Wherever I am currently, I am able to pray on time and utilize my lunch hour for reading the Quran. And alhamdulillah, fasting is for Allah. There's nothing outside, there's no ritual that will require you to take time out of work to be able to fast. So alhamdulillah. But it has not always been like this. It has not always been like this. I have also been in environments that will not allow me to wear hijab. I'll take you back to the interview, and I'll still throw my weight on my first point, that as Muslim women, when you're getting into workspaces, it is important for you from the onset to ensure that you're getting into an environment that will allow you to practice Islam. Yeah. So that will mean checking out the kind of job you're getting into. Number one, is it halal?
Yes.
Yeah. 2, is it going to afford you the time to pray? is it going to allow you to adorn your hijab? I have quit a job after 3 panel interviews,
Yes.
and getting the opportunity to work. I have quit a job because they did not allow me to wear my hijab.
Okay.
Whatever they were allowing me to do was a version of hijab, funga mtandio huko nyuma, and it was just a month to Ramadan, and I was wondering, how would I fast without adorning the proper hijab? And how would I work in an environment that is serving alcohol? Yeah. So when it comes to matters work, I think as a Muslim woman, it is very important for you to be able to establish that on the onset of your employment, that you will be allowed to practice your religion without difficulty. Yeah.
Very true. No?
Yeah, just adding on it. On a personal level, they say exposure teaches you a lot of things. And while growing up, I used to think there was this misconception on how Muslims cannot pray, and all this. But with my work, UN has a provision for praying. You can imagine, with all the phobia for Islamic phobia and everything, they have a provision for praying. CJs has a provision for praying. Most hotels have a provision for praying. So I'm talking from regards to my work.
Yes.
Yeah, those are the places I find myself so much. And I've never been in a hotel nikapata haina pali ya msala, because while the organizations are planning all these things, they consider that Muslims are actually part of the audience, or part of the panel, or part of the speakers. What stands out for me, by the way, is the UN. The UN just having a petition for Muslims to go and pray Salah for Muslim and men, and while the panel is continuing, you can walk out anytime. There's we still have challenges in other aspects, but imagine you can just be in front there and you can just tell the moderator, it's time for prayers. So in regards to prayers, I always say, as Muslims, just the way you've said, it's just putting your communicating your scope there. But now that is, like every job, kuna every type of job. Me, I'm looking at, when I say like, it depends now, the word it depends, I'm looking at the kind of job sima unafanyia. I don't want to mention people, subhanallah. Let's say unafanya kazi ya mkono. Umenielewa? Let's say unafanya kazi ya, because now I'm talking about office, 8 to 5. But remember, 8 to 5 can also be kazi ya mkono. So mtu wa kazi ya mkono, imagine you're telling your boss, ni saa 7 mimi nataka kwenda kuswali. What do you mean? What do you mean? Number one, he's not a Muslim. Number one, he does not respect Islam. Number 3, he thinks akona Islamophobia, all those things. So they don't understand. What do you mean? You are going to work. You're going to sit here. We have clients and you're going to work. So it also depends with the environment you're working. There's so many environments that, alhamdulillah, they've created these spaces where Muslims can pray, we can fast. They just don't want you to be too vocal in regards to Islam. But praying, alhamdulillah, I have to give it to like the spaces that are being created for Muslims, because imagine hotels, very big hotels, 5-star hotel, 4-star hotels in Nairobi, they have prayer areas. But people don't know, because wanasema uko mimi niende nikiswali. In fact, Muslims sisi wenyewe mtu atasema uko mimi niende na mtandio. So it's also you as an individual.
So it comes back to the matter of faith.
It comes back to the matter of faith. Yes, it comes back there.
And I think in the recent past, there's been a lot of improvement in terms of inclusivity.
Yes.
On matters religion, and just accommodating all these rituals that we need to perform from time to time.
Yeah, there has been.
So huu wasiwasi ambao uko ni kwamba, okay, I don't know kama nyinyi muliinukia katika background ambapo wakati wetu ilikuwa kwenda kusoma, haswa university, kuhama mji mwingine, ilikuwa ni vigumu sana wazazi kukuruhusu. Maybe ile fikra kwamba utakwenda utapotea, ama utakuwa ni mwenye kuingia katika mambo ambayo hayafai. But again, sasa hivi tuko kwenye ulimwengu ambapo, though I don't agree with 50-50 issues when it comes to mwanamke kufanya kazi, madamu ufanya kazi basi na una ndoa ama una family, lazima uchangie half of that. I don't agree with that. Let's not go back to that. But again, ni ile issue ya kwamba sasa hivi mwanamke wa Kiislamu anaweza kuwa professionally capable, at the same time play her role as a Muslima. Can it happen right now? Na hivi vitu ambavyo ni fitna ambazo ziko hapa na pale.
Rahma, what are the roles of a Muslima?
Roles.
Hebu tuelaborate wengine hapa, tuelewe hizo roles.
Kwanza role yake kubwa ni kumwabudu Mola wake na kufanya ibada zake. na vile vile iwapo ni kinyumbani kwa wazee wake, ni mwenye kuwatii wazee wake na kuwaweka sawa, kuwa na uamiliano mwema na ndugu zake na walolo kwa karibu. Kama ni ndoa, awe ni mwenye kumfanyia wema ule mume. Wema wenyewe ni yale tulosema, ukumbuke ndoa ni ibada. Sasa kile unachofanya wewe tarajia Mola wako akulipe. Sasa kama ni kuiangalia ile nyumba, kuiweka sawa, kwa yule mume akija uwe ni furaha yake. Okay? Hayo ya mapishi najua tuta-argue Mariam kwa sababu
hata furaha I'm going to argue because like I'm just listening and I'm just like calm down because like what do you mean like awe mwenye furaha? Because we are supposed, do you know they say the best of the men are those that actually take care of their wives and make their wives happy.
Sasa yeye anapoingia na furaha, mimi na wewe nitakubaliana, anapoingia na furaha obviously
na wewe kupate na
furaha.
Sawa. Yaani tunapeana furaha.
Kama umejaliwa watoto, uwe mlezi kwa wale watoto, uwafundishe yaliyo sawa kwa sababu al-ummu madrasa, mama ndo madrasa ya kwanza. So ni mambo, lakini yale mengine you can overdo ikiwa pengine kuna reciprocation of some sort from your man. Then nafikiri mwanamke ufunguka zaidi ikiwa you get something from what you do in the best way, in a positive energy. So
your question is in balance.
Why?
You feel like there's no balance. Like you're asking if there is going to be a balance if you're working an 8 to 5 job. And are you able to balance yourself as a Muslim woman?
Yes, wajipanga, kuna planning.
Yeah.
Mara sasa hivi a lot of us lazima uwe na mtu ambaye wakusaidia nyumbani, waweza ajiri dada wa kazi aje kusaidia hapa na pale ili unaporudi na wewe umalizie vilivyobaki.
True.
I think it's all about proper planning, Mariam. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I do. I also want to look at it from a different perspective. I am looking at a Muslimah, and you have talked of a Muslimah's role of worshipping Allah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Looking at the virtues and the characters that are held in high regard in Islam, and looking at the professionalism, for example, and the traits that, you know, are considered high performance traits, they actually align. So there is no conflict. And therefore, it means it's very easy for you to be a Muslimah and a professional at the same time. When you look at, for example, ihsan, excellence. Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam tells us to do everything that we do excellently. The same excellence when it comes to professionalism is a high-performing trait. When you look at integrity, which is, say, a manner. Yeah. So just being able to be honest as a Muslimah, being a person of your word, which is also an integral, a key trait when it comes to matters professionalism.
Yes, yes.
So you find most of these values that a Muslimah is encouraged to have are the same traits that a professional is encouraged or is required to have. Yes. So yes, it is possible to be a professional and a Muslim.
I have a question. I totally agree. Like, naturally, all the responsibilities you're supposed to, all the requirements you're supposed to have as a person working in a job, they just, you know, coexist with all the values you're supposed to have as a Muslim woman. But my question is, we live, we with that said, how beautiful it sounds and how accurate it sounds, it's more like a vision rather than a reality. Because a reality is we work in corrupt spaces, you know, all your integrity and your trustworthy and all the things that you stand for, they come falling down on your head once you start working in these spaces. You are compromised because like now the reality is most companies, you know, unafanya kazi ya HR, hey, hakuna yani wewe. Yani the things you're doing in that company, you know, and also you're working, even me, I've seen a lot of challenges while working because you find yourself in places where you have to compromise A, B, C, D for you to, you're conflicted for you to actually get A, B, C, D. And you know, like now that is where the gap comes, and you know, like this work and your faith are not coexisting together. They're not subscribing to each other, rather they're unsubscribing, because the things you're doing during your work or the values you are dropping, you know, are not, for example, I've seen women who they're very respectful by nature, very very respectful, but you know, in their workspace, because mtu ni boss, yani endo kusema, endo director, the way they talk to the people who are below them, because you know, in a household, let's say sisi kama wanawake wa Kiislamu, we don't find ourselves with so much power while being raised up, because we have our mothers on top of us, our fathers on top of us, our brothers are on top of us. Sisi ndo tunakuzwa, umenielewa? So we don't have that much of a voice. I've never commanded anyone in regards to being a daughter. Ever. I've never had an opportunity rather to command anyone, sema ati fanya kitu fulani. I've always felt like I am the daughter, I am the young one. Wendo unaambiwa fanya hivi, wendo unakuzwa. But now when you come to a workspace where now those values are challenged, you know, somebody now is putting power in your hands. Now that is where we have a breakthrough. Because now you, the same person, when you umekuwa so humble all your life, being taught, being guided, all of a sudden you're just given a little bit of power. So where does the balance come? Because now that power removes all your values.
I've understood
unakuwa
your
very
angle.
Disrespectful.
Yes.
Unakuwa yani wewe uamini kwanza ndio unaipa. Unataka kuonyeshana mimi ndio kusema. You know, like you just
Sasa,
become a totally different
hiyo
person.
inatokana na nini? Are you like trauma related in terms of you were craving for that power and you were never given that chance wakati unakulia for you to treat others differently?
They say your real color shows when you're poor and when you're rich, you know.
I think the colors have
Ulikuwa
always
una,
been there.
it has always been there.
Hazijakuwa shown on light.
Yeah, you had not just
Yeah,
been
because
given
But
about
the
power.
statement is giving me vibes of this stereotype that Muslim women are there to be seen, not to be heard.
Yes.
Muslim women are submissive. Yeah. And
But
so
is it a stereotype?
It is a stereotype.
Don't you find yourself a submissive woman?
It doesn't mean that, you know,
It's
you
a yes
cannot
or no question.
work.
Are you no, leave work. Are you submissive? Yes,
I am.
Or no?
Yes, I am.
So it's not a stereotype. You are
No,
submissive.
submissive. The stereotype of submissive is not the correct perception of submissiveness.
What is the
It will
stereotype?
mean the stereotype is that you're submissive is you give in to everything, whether it's right or not. You don't question.
You don't question.
You go with the
But
flow.
you can be
You're told
submissive
and
to
you
what
have
is
to
And
do
right.
you
it.
have to go.
Yes, and you have
Okay.
to go. You know,
Rahma, don't you believe a little bit, just a little bit, that naturally, that's most cases. We just don't want to say it.
About submissive.
About submissive.
And it
You
is
come
a
from Mombasa.
misconception.
It's not a misconception. You come from Mombasa.
I do.
You're coming from the Nubia community, Nubians community, right?
and I come from Western.
Or Western. Yeah. You're coming from Swahili community. I've lived in Swahili all my life. The one that she's calling stereotype is the reality.
It's the reality because that's the art of living in the
Unfortunately,
Swahili
that is what is
household.
happening on the ground.
Okay.
But my point is, being submissive does not mean being trampled
It does not
all
equate
over.
to,
It
yeah.
does not equate to being a
That's why I was
doormat
telling you could
or
be
a rag
submissive,
that
Okay.
you
but
know.
again, you are submissive in the sense that you understand your rights.
Yes.
All right. I
Yes,
think
yes.
there is that difference.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
But again, tukija katika hii issue ya kazi, najua Nawaila wewe ni accountant na umezungumzia issue ya honesty katika kazi na mara nyingi mwanamke ama Muislamu kwa jumla tunaongozwa na uaminifu sana katika jinsi tunavyojiendekeza kimaisha katika hata kuamiliana na watu. In your line of duty, in your line of work, Nawaila, pengine issue ya honesty na you handling a lot of accounts pengine pale kazini, how do you get challenged?
Faith-wise. Well, I think my answer for that will be the fact that you talked about work being an ibadah.
Yes.
I am able to avoid most of the challenges because of that, because I view work as an ibadah and I know I am accountable to Allah, not just to man.
Yeah.
So just the idea that I could choose to manipulate figures or take off with some amount and not be discovered,
Yes.
but I know deep down that Allah knows and I will be answerable
Yes.
someday. So that has basically been what has been guiding me. Just remembering that I am doing this and it's an amana and I'm going to be answerable to Allah.
Na hii issue ya masala ya kuwa kazini from 8 to 5. Najua tukiangalia tu katika mazingira kazi kabla tufike nyumbani jinsi yanavyoathiri maisha yetu, ni kwamba hili swala la pengine amezungumzia na Waila kuhusiana na amekwenda interviews kadhaa na mara nyingi unaambiwa lazima uishushe hijab yako. Na ni challenge kubwa sana ambayo inawafikia wanawake wengi in terms of sasa sio wote ambao watakuwa na imani nzito ama thabiti ya kuweza kufikiria kwamba Mungu ataleta nyingine Mariam, you know. Some of them actually go into it knowing that niko kwenye mazingira kazi, hakuna atakayeniona. The minute nikitoka nje nitavaa vile ninafufaa kuvaa na niendelee kimaisha. Are we making a mistake for those who are actually into it because nimepata kazi na sina namna nyingine, I really worked for this job and I really did well in terms of finding my life.
But that brings us back to our first episode, right? Where we were talking about hijab. You know, what is hijab? What is the value of hijab? What do you understand in regards to hijab? Si ati kama mimi niliambiwa tu na mamangu nafaa nivae hijab. Unajua hijab nafaa nivae mimi ni Muislamu. That's all. You know, like I'm a Muslim, I'm supposed to wear hijab. What do you understand about hijab? You know, like do you even know how many times it's mentioned in the Quran how you're supposed to, you know, to cover yourself? You know, once you understand the weight of all this, I think in a build that imani ya kusema kidogo hebu ngoja, umenielewa? But again, information, if you're not pumped so much in regards to you understanding that you can actually say no if somebody is asking you to remove your hijab, because no matter what, kama mambo uwe mtandio in a workspace, you know, and you're feeling desperate, I think only your iman can make you not remove that hijab, nothing else. Ni imani
Does it
yako.
only happen in private companies ama when it comes to the public companies, mostly governmental, itakuwa isiwe issue hii, right?
Government, they don't have an issue.
Do they?
They don't have an issue.
I have not heard of government.
Yeah, I've not heard of
having
government
an
issues.
Mostly private. I get triggered when you talk about that because I have suffered. I have suffered that because I tarmacked for quite a while. I went to a number of interviews, and every other interview I went to, my hijab was an issue. Are you going to dress like this? Are you going to require special permissions? Are you, you know? And every other time it was, alhamdulillah, lunch hour, dhuhr is done. Asri, I'll need a 10-minute break at 4 p.m. And then Friday, I may need a longer lunch hour. So for a very long time, I did not get answers. For a very long time, I did not get answers back. And I knew it was my hijab because most of the times that was the question. You know, are you going to dress like this? Now, apart from the special permissions. And so eventually when this interview came, I went to an interview that had about 30 applicants, all dressed in, you know, the sharp suits and the miniskirts and the makeups and all. And I was in my hijab and I went in feeling, okay, do I stand a chance here? So I went through the 3 panel interviews, as I told you, and unfortunately in one of the interviews, one of the directors actually asked me why I'm dressed like that.
Okay.
And in his words, why are you dressed like that? You're so beautiful. I felt that was a bit intrusive because, I mean, what do you mean? Hijab and beauty. They cannot go together. What do you mean?
Maybe he didn't have the right word at that moment.
Yeah.
Well, I chose not to dwell on that. So I went through the interviews and eventually there was only one vacancy and I got it.
Alhamdulillah.
Went through the orientation and I was taken to the kitchen and I noticed there were cakes being baked and alcohol was an ingredient and there was alcohol that was being served, and then went through to the, getting a uniform. And that is when I made my request, and I was told, now you have to do a trouser and a t-shirt. And I'm like, can I do a skirt?
That's already an exposure.
Like, it's okay, you can do a skirt, but you can't tie your hijab the way this is done. You have to do a band at the back of your head. And I was like, I went to the changing room. I sat with myself and I asked myself, I have been asking Allah to give me a job, and this is the job that He's given me. But why do I have to go against His word?
Is He testing me?
Why do I have to go against what he has commanded me to do in the search of risk when the risk comes from him. Picked the uniforms, gave them back, said, thank you for this opportunity, but I'm not going to take it. And I left.
They were surprised.
And I'm glad I did. They were. And one of the managers told me, but what is happening? And I tried to explain to them, and unfortunately they were not Muslim, so they were not seeing the weight of it. And when, you know, they even tried to convince me, telling me there was a Muslim lady who was working there and had given into the dress code, but so dresses like that.
Yes.
So when you talk about feeling like I'll be confined here, and when I step out, then I can dress appropriately. But then I was like, but what happens during Ramadan? You know, and not only Ramadan, all the times, because Allah is seeing you, you know, and you're still going against this command. So this coming at a time when I really needed the job. But my question was, why do I have to go against Allah to get what Allah
maybe hii ndo ile moment ambao ambiwa saa nyingine waweza omba kitu Mungu akakupa, lakini ni kujaribu sasa. Je,
kupatia mtihani.
Angalia hii hali ilokuja hii kazi. Utaichukua.
And then my madrasa teacher, Sheikh Abdallah Shaban, talking about dua and telling us, when you ask, be very specific about what you want. And I said, I asked Allah for a job, and He's given me a job.
You are not specific.
I was not specific. And so I went back to the Salah and I told Allah, please give me a job that's going to be good for my deen, my dunya, and my hereafter.
Mimi funny enough, nikitaka kuhama mahali, the best wao wanafanya, namwambia Mola wangu nijalie nyumba yenye khairi na mimi na majirani wema. Sijui, do you know the weight on jirani akiwa muovu kwako?
I know,
it's stressful.
It's very stressful.
So wallahi that is my best work. Lakini again, hii issue alozungumza kuhusiana na dress code, I know kama unavyosema. Sasa how do we have the same alignment kwamba tuelewe umuhimu wa hijab, ambapo ona umetolewa mfano like mbona yule mwenzako amekubali hii kazi. So ushaona inaleta kidogo kutoelewa kwa hawa ambao hawaelewi sheria zetu za dini. So inaleta ile confusion like, are you holier than thou? That kind of a feeling. Kwa sababu hata ukitaka kupewa nafasi ya kuswali, mfano kazini hakuna, lakini ukawaomba wakubwa wakasema basi ile store kuna kipembe pale. Don't you think staff wenzako wanaweza kuona kama unapendelewa ama you are too religious to them,
but you know,
that you need special treatment?
But for you to even start tackling that, Rahma, you need to start from the point of, you've talked about being in a space where they're not accommodating Muslims with hijab. Something happened the other day. Information is power. There's a girl that was removed her hijab in the Catholic school. I was very keen on that story, and I 100% support the Islamic community and the girl. But Islam is perfect, but technology is moving. Islam is perfect, but we coexist with non-Muslims. We are not going to force ourselves to live in this world like we're living alone. Even Islam requires us to respect other people's religion. There's something that was said that really stood out for me. I even posted it so much on my social media. Comment section ilikuwa imejaa one question from the non-Muslims. And can a non-Muslim go to a madrasa with a skirt, a short skirt, her hair tied, and sit and read?
No.
Now your answer is no. So why would a Muslim go to a Christian space and expect her values to be respected?
This particular case, Mariam, I think the girl was very clear about her and her parents asking the principal if they were going to allow her to wear the
I understand that
the special
which
treatment
they
that
agreed.
is.
I understand.
Yeah.
But
so to go
it's a
back
Catholic
on
school.
their word, their word after they had agreed.
I understand that one. Let's not discuss
totally
their
misplaced.
values as humans that they agreed and disagreed. Very simple. constitution.
Mm-hmm.
Islam, Christianity, and the whole constitution at large.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Policies.
Mm-hmm.
Let's leave humans alone.
Mm-hmm.
Policies.
Mm-hmm.
Can a Christian go to a non-Muslim school, sit down, miniskirt, shorts, you know, the way
A Muslim
a
school
non-Muslim
that is,
wants to dress. And us Muslims will say, we respect how you want to dress. We respect that is your dress code, and we're going to allow you in our school. It's a yes or no question. Can we do that?
We can't, but we can come in with a solution. Now,
Which
this I see a lot with our JamiaTV. Whenever we have a guest, maybe they come in a way that we believe the cleavage is being seen, and we wouldn't want to do that. We actually offer either a scarf, something that will look artistic or fashionable enough to cover her, or kama ni chini uko yani magoti inaonekana, miguu inaonekana, we give her something like mtandio, labda leso, kwa sababu yajaribu kumwambia uko katika mazingira ambao Mola wetu yani hataki uchi wa mwanamke udhihirike, na we try our best kumweleza mtu kama yule.
So let me get this straight, Rahma. No, you don't. Let me get this straight. Let me understand this. When a non-Muslim comes to your environment, you're going to make them appeal to your environment. Yes or no? That's what you've just said.
Yes.
But when a Muslim goes to a non-Muslim environment, you don't want them to be made to appeal to that environment. You still want you to appeal yourself to that environment. Because
Mariam, we do have our own schools za Kiislamu, na nadhani hii controversy inaebuka sana wakati matukio kama haya yanapotokea.
Thank you.
Ambapo sasa lazima tuwaambie ndio mashehe na wale walimu na wenye wasimamizi wa shule za Kiislamu sema hata kama mwanao kweli amepata grade ambayo yampeleka shule fulani, jaribu vilivyo asome mazingira ya Kiislamu ili akubalike bila tashwishi.
You've answered my question.
And what I have been saying all this time, that pick the environment that you want to be in. And pick an environment that's going to accommodate your values.
Yes.
Because in regards to the same, whether the principal agreed or didn't agree, me understand that's a Catholic school. One thing about me, I respect human beings. I mean, I don't care. I don't care who you are, what you're doing, but you're a human being. You have a life. I will respect you. Sawa, I will respect your space as long as it does not interfere with me. It's my responsibility to put myself in a space that is conducive for me. And if I cannot do that, if I come to your space, I need to respect that space. And that's the gap. Because now we're talking about faith, and we've gone through hijab, and there's a controversial story happening right now. Mtoto wa kike alitolewa hijab. And I felt for her. She was talking with a lot of pain. Amekuzwa, anapenda mtandio yake sana. But in the comment section, I don't see things at value based. You know, everybody was just there. Hey, Islam, hey. Then I went and started reading the comments, and they made a lot of sense. There are people who are just asking for the balance of religion to be there. Why can't Catholic take their children to Catholic schools? Muslim, take your children to Muslim school. That is the only environment that understands and respects your ways. Rather than, Kwanzaa, the one thing that was hurting them, they were saying, we actually accommodate Muslims with their values. But us, our values, when we enter the Islamic space, we are told to drop our values and actually carry the Muslim values. And I understand as a Muslim, our religion is perfect. I do understand it's the right religion, but it is very hard when we are using force in regards to this, like these statements, to make people understand the same. They won't. So in regards to that, I'd also say, like, if we can balance take yourself in environments where you can practice your deen, and it can also accommodate your value. And sorry, Rahma, I just wanted to pose another question in regards to the careers. I've heard you're working in the bank and everything. So I'm working in a very different space. But how far, according to you, is your career? Like, as a Muslim woman, like when you're balancing your faith and career, how far do you push your career? Because I'm hearing a lot of, like, as a Muslim woman, you're supposed to do A, you're supposed to do B, you're supposed to be in a certain way, you're supposed to be here, you're supposed to say this, there's so much. There are things you're not supposed to speak too loud in front of men. Watu kama sisi in my advocate, we speak and we speak and
Now
we speak again, and we are not going to keep quiet. We're going to tell you in a soft way that you're wrong. And so how far is your career in regards to that? Like, how far can a Muslim woman take her career? Because I've also had such debates, because any woman working from 8 to 5 job, we have a dream in regards to where our career is going. So it's not like you're just going to be stagnant all your life. How does that balance with your faith and your requirements and all the expectations that you're supposed to uphold?
Alhamdulillah, Islam is a way of life.
Yeah.
So literally guides you on how you do everything.
Yeah.
When it comes to being a Muslim woman and career, I don't think there are ceilings for it.
Okay.
Yeah. The limit should be that you're not trespassing what you should not be doing. You have talked about, talking. And, you've given the example of talking. But at the same time, I appreciate that you use the word, you will respectfully tell this person ABC.
Yeah.
So basically just being able to push yourself to the highest level you can, but also not throwing out the values that you believe in. Yeah.
Okay. Rahma, what's your thought?
It's just about when you pick a career, huwa tayari una goals.
Yes.
Mojawapo ni to make money ama to just sustain yourself throughout life.
Yes.
Na lakini pia at least after some years pengine when you have already stabilized yourself, you look forward to haswa kazi ambazo wajua wazi zitakuwa na promotion pengine to a certain stages of that kind of a career you're holding. And unaangalia tu labda nita invest vipi, nitakuwa nataka kuishi hapa miaka milele, ama nitataka kuinvest outside nifungue biashara yangu. So ni kujipanga tu. Again ni swala la hivyo imani yako na kuamini kuomba riski, kwa sababu we look at risk as a ni form of how Allah has planned it.
Yes.
But again pia purpose yako as dini yako inakuambia nini. So wajua pia kwa mwanamke Mari, sasa tuko katika hali ambapo bado tunajijenga sote. But itafika wakati utakuwa pia umechoka kimaisha. Now you have to have a proper planning. Like nikiretire nitakuwa nafanya nini? Je, nitakaa tu nyumbani ningoje sasa wale nilowashughulikia katika kazi yangu waniinue, ama nitakuwa najiendeleza? So ni katika hali ya kujiweka tu kimpango yani. Though amini at the back of your head, Mwenyezi Mungu akinifungulia basi nitaendelea zaidi.
Let me just add into that, yeah. In regards to careers and faith, I'm looking at it on a very different scope in regards to how you're looking at it, because like in regards to faith has the part of faith where what is required of us or what is expected of us. I don't like to use the word responsibility because it's used very wrongly in regards to women, but faith has that description on what is expected of us as Muslim women. Like when we're doing the first podcast, we talked about being a good Muslim woman. But again, your career is something that does not naturally all the time align with your faith in regards to what is expected of you, especially if you are a married woman. We cannot talk about these things with girls who are not married. It's boom and training na kubeba na umeenda. But when you are married and you have children, we are talking about a different scope. That's where I'm gauging your mind. And I'm not talking about just in regards to, I'm working in this space. Inshallah, Mwenyezi Mungu atanipeleka in this space. This is risky. No. I'm talking about a woman who is seated down and is structuring a plan for herself. It's just the way men do it. Women do that as well.
Yes, they do.
You sit down and you say, I'm going to be a diplomat. Do you know what it takes to be a diplomat? It will take your blood, literally. It will take your whole self. It will drain you psychologically, mentally, physically, emotionally, every way, financially, for you to get to that space. So I'm looking at that scope in regards to you building this career and moving in spaces where maybe in regards to your faith, it does not align. Speaking in spaces where your faith does not align. We were just before we started the podcast, we were discussing with you, not being in a position to live as per the expectations of society as a Muslim woman in regards to how your faith is requiring you to do so. You cannot do A, you cannot do B, you cannot do C, because it takes your whole self to build that career. So that is where I was actually gauging the conversation. So I wanted to understand from your thought process as well, how do you guys see it? Do you think it's possible? Because we have women out here who are trying to do it, and they just need to hear from somebody, it's going to be okay.
It's going to
and
be
you know
okay.
me as Mariam, I think it's possible and it can happen.
Yes.
But it's always good to hear the cons, because me right now I'm just having the pros. So it's good if you guys have the cons to how that can unfold, you also give us. So
I think for me, I've been looking at and that point you were saying, where I told you, I feel like a woman who's doing an 8 to 5 compared to maybe a housewife or someone who's more flexible in their timings, maybe a self-employed person or someone in business. I feel a woman who's doing an 8 to 5 is disadvantaged. Largely because I tend to think they miss out on opportunities to like bond more with the family, and maybe to perform better in, just because you go to work, you get exhausted, you give it your best, get exhausted, get back home. And so there's that aspect of the imposter syndrome, where you get to a point and now you're wondering, am I really being a good parent?
Yes.
Where you get to a point where you have to engage someone else to help, with running the home, cleaning, cooking
of course.
sometimes. And this, we engage house managers, and each of them comes with their own values and their own personalities. And sometimes children are picking these behaviors from them. So you end up having the imposter syndrome. Am I really being a good parent? Am I doing a good job? Am I, this career, is it worth what I'm losing? And sometimes also just hearing stories of people who have gone out, maybe abroad, to seek their risk, and coming back to children who are drug addicts or, they're really traumatized or, because having experienced difficult situations. So just wondering, is it worth it? So struggling with an imposter syndrome is one of the things that I personally...
Do you believe there's two sides of how that can unfold in regards to... I totally agree. There are cases which are so many where it will turn out very negatively. But do you believe that there are cases where a working mother is taking care of her children, her husband, her household, herself, so much better than a person who is actually a stay-at-home mom?
That is
it is
very
very
much
possible. Yes, it happens. It happens. Yes, even I've seen women who dedicate. Of course, the timelines is different, and that's the thing. I always say there's no manual in life.
Yes.
I really like emphasizing in there's no manual in life. Let's say, for example, Rahma, you work an 8 to 5 job, and every time you go home at 7, you're tired, of course. But naturally, I know the exhaustion that the person who feels your exhaustion mostly is your husband. Women and their children are inseparable. Leo utakuwa exhausted, kesho lazima utatafuta watoto wako. Huwezi sema ati wiki mzima, I'm tired. Like your maternal instincts do not allow you to do that. Especially when they're young. When they're older, kunakuwa na hiyo gap. But when they're young, Rahma, you look for them. How are you? How was school? Maybe you'll not do their homework, but you'll actually care for them. And then let's say there's a stay-at-home mom who are gonna house manager, and there's so many, and literally all they do is free time. It's their free time. Maybe just shopping and doing ABCD. There's so many scopes to this, and being home but not really at home. Ako tu home kimwili. And Rahma, you might not be spending so much time with your kids during the during the whole week, but you dedicate your time. And that's the thing I always say, when women choose what they want, they be very careful. Rahma, she might miss every single day of the whole term with her child and get very minimal time, but she's working towards a situation where she can afford a whole holiday. Because I like removing men from the equation. Not every alhamdulillah, like alhamdulillah, like dini mesema wanaume watuangalia and everything, but reality is reality. You sit here and say Din has said, but reality is single mothers are so many, women are struggling financially. So put yourself in a situation where you balance and say, like, I cannot spend my time with these kids for these 3 months because they're in school and I'm also working. We're just spending so much time. Everybody is busy. But April, me and my kids, we're just bonding.
And they will be looking forward
to it.
I
want to know how my kids are doing. I want to know their state of mind. People focus on school fees. People focus on, I don't know, uniform, books. tap the mind of that child. How are you in school? Who are your friends? Do you have good friends? You know, I have those conversations with my 7-year-old, you know, and now you tackle, you know, who is who. So do you have good friends? Who's your best friend? How do you relate with your best friend? Then she will mention, somebody is mean to me, or somebody pushed me. Now you're getting the information. Show the interest.
Yeah.
So to me, I feel like it is quite possible. Much as there's so many cons to it, there's so much disadvantage in working from 8 to 5 and also keeping your faith on top.
Alafu hii issue ya kwamba una hiyo si lazima utafute siku maalum ya kumuuliza. Actually that's why women can multitask. Wajua waweza ingia kweli umechoka, but kuna ile kwamba wamdadisi mtoto kujua how his or her day was, na waweza kudetect some behaviors ambazo hazikuwa before. I think that can take time, lakini pia utalan. So hii issue ya kwamba finding the cons, labda ni hiyo kwamba you miss a lot in terms of being there. Ama saa nyingine kama hivyo unavyosema, kuna wengine wana neema ya kuwa tu nyumbani, ya kwamba they are free to do everything. And they're like, I wish I could also do a self-care for myself and just spend the day or week at home.
That's also true.
But yote ni maisha. But another thing I notice ni kwamba the moment you are in your comfort zone, that is like ni kitu a disadvantage for me. I don't know, because I believe unapokuwa kwenye comfort zone paka yani hushtushwi na whatever is happening around you, it should be something that should detect something dangerous. Kwa sababu na hii notion ambao wanawake wengine utaona okay, hatukatai, kuna wengine wamejaribu kutafuta riski ama kujishughulisha, hawakupata. But kuna yule ambaye yeye anataka tu apate, apewe, ashughulike awe tu hapo, but hataki kuexplore more. Ama kama mtu wengine wengi wamesoma, utaona wana vyeti vya hali ya juu vya usomi walofanya, but hawataki kushughulika madamu nimewekwa kwenye comfort zone. But that is dangerous, because najiambia kuna kufa na kuna kuugua, kuna nini, utajifundisha nini kama mwanamke? Wajua after that.
And also times have changed, you know, like being comfortable is not an option right now.
Alafu another thing about marriages ni kwamba mara nyingi sisi wanawake ama mtoto wa kike kwenu wafukuzwa in terms of kenda ukiolewa umetolewa kwenu. Na mume akikupa talaka huna pa kwenda, right? Mara nyingi either urudi kwenu kama they still open the doors for you, ama ujitafute huko.
True.
So hatuna mahali maalum wanawake, lazima ujipange kimaisha. Ndio kama unavyosema tuko kwenye ulimwengu mwingine sasa hivi.
Very different. But in regards to the same thing you're saying, Rahma, and I'm gauging just everything you're saying. Why do you think having an 8 to 5 job, because you're talking about 8 to 5 job versus faith, and faith is deen, you know, and marriage is part of deen. Why do you think that 8 to 5 job is ruining marriages right now? Why do you think people are looking at it from that perspective?
Sasa ni ile mindset ya kuinukia kimila na kitamaduni, ambapo kama wanavyosema mwanamke ikifika saa 12 ama 11 kama kiwanja. Sio kwa hatujafika kwenye wanja Mariam, tunamalizia sasa. Ni ile kwamba kama kuku wafaushengi ya ndani. Mume akirudi akupate upo ndani. Tayari ile fikra kwamba mume ashaingia, yeye bado huyu azururana mji. Hiyo ipo. Ushaona sasa wengine kwa yale maneno yanozunguka wengi wanakuwa inaanza mgogoro wa kimya alafu unakuwa mkubwa. Sijui ipata hiyo scenario. So ni ile hali ya kwamba imevunja ndoa nyingi kwa kwamba wengine ndo kama hivyo, the boss has said that I should stay late because of this and that. I don't know Maria kama cross search ambapo boss anakuambia ukae mpaka saa fulani ndo urudi. Now explaining it to your partner inakuwa kidogo mtengene. Ukiwa na mwanamume muelewi, pengine hasa atakuchukulia akuelewe situation ilivyo. Lakini kuna wale ambao tunauzungumza, a modern wife, a traditional husband, inakuwa kidogo mnakwaruzana sana. Na pia maneno ya watu yanapoingia kifamilia, labda watu wanaona unamruhusuje mke wako hata kama ulimpa right ya kufanya kazi, but inakuwaje iwa kupanda kichwa that can na ule ujeuri ule uzungumza. Wewe ukiwa ofisini, wewe ndo boss Mariam, unapigia watu kelele. Don't you think hiyo tabia huenda ikarudi nyumbani ukaanza kumpigia mwanamume kelele?
That's when I have to totally disagree with, you know, like by now tumesha agree the fact that anytime makosa ya mwanamume ikiekwa kwa makosa ya mwanamke, I will always disagree. People don't need to do wrong by you because you've done wrong by them. Sometimes people just do wrong by you, and that's what happens with men. In regards to 8 to 5 job and in regards to marriage, in regards to faith, I feel like it's more about ego. It's more about ego. It has nothing to do with me. It has a lot to do with ego. Let's say for example, a man, mwanamume amekuzwa vipi kwa familia, you know, yendo kunguruma, yendo predominant species in the world, you know, and all of a sudden kuna mwanamke sasa wasimama, you know, you don't even need to answer this man, you know, because you're in a space of working, you're interacting with men, maybe, you know, you are earning all these things. It takes you to say a very small thing, ninakuwa ni kibri. So that's my point. This 8 to 5 job might not actually be the problem, but what we teach our sons wakiondokea mpaka wakakuwa mwanamume might be the problem. And I keep saying, I admire the couples that work together. I wish people could understand. Mwanamume unjue mwanamke wangu anafanya kazi, they open an account together. You know, these things happen. Relax. No, relax. I'm the custodian of the account, you know? And you know, like, we open an account together. You know, it is possible. Let me tell you something. Mtu kuniendea kinyume. That one is irreversible. Men doing. Unajua kuna vitu tunafanya kama wewe unatumia emotions right now. No. Use logic. Listen Rahma, when you use emotions, we won't say it.
Once beaten,
once twice. Twice shy. But when we're using emotions, we tend to see that this person ataniendea kinyume. Mimi I don't care about kuniendea kinyume. I am doing this knowing very well any day you might be my enemy. I was not born from the same stomach with you. You know, my sibling, you're my partner. So you unanielewa. But Rahma, I'm telling you, and women are refusing this thing. I wish you could just sit with women who save with their husbands and understand they're not saving with their husband, that their husband can withdraw this money. I've had a case through
it's a dual signatory.
It's a dual signatory. So I've had a case about a couple who separated, and then the man wanted to remove some money. Acha nikwambia alipoa hard time. Hiyo pesa haikutoka hapo because you know he got married and everything, and then the woman was like, sawa, afadhali kae kwa account lakini fanya nini? Haitoki. Utakufa wewe, niende na death certificate nitoe ile pesa, but ukuli ile pesa na mwanamke mwingine. You know, it was all that, but the things they've done together, Rahma. And me, I'm not saying 50-50. That's where there's a problem. You know, funny enough, men are very easy to manipulate in mind.
Really?
Very easy to manipulate. They are hearing me. They know they're easy to manipulate in mind, because when you're using logic, you'll manipulate men. When you're using emotions, men will manipulate you. Take that to the bank.
So
when you're using,
that is our
when you're using logic,
punchline, because you're winding up, man.
Yeah. So when you're using, let me just finish. So when you're using logic, you manipulate men in the sense of you can get a man to do what you want if at all they can see you are emotionally intelligent. Men pull out when they feel there's too much emotion. So when you're emotionally intelligent, they tend to come in. They think there's a balance in how you people can articulate things.
Like a man.
You're not acting like a man, but at least akili zetu zinaweza balance. But my point is, you can do so much. You know, like for example, let me tell you, myself and some of my sister-in-laws, some of my friends, we have this thing that when you go married, you open an account for the kids. Rahma, I can tell you, as a woman, you'll just put 5K in that account. 5,000. Umenielewa? But mwanamume kila anakuambia kila ikifika mwisho wa mwezi, hello, usisahau kumwekea mtoto pesa kwa account. It's all in the mind, Rahma. You know, namwambia mimi hata nishaweka, umekangamisha ka 2,000. Nishaweka. And in the kids account,
Ayoni.
No. Now, you see, it's how, like she was saying in regards to workspaces and everything. Everything is motion. When you set a motion where there's trust, respect, understanding, kwanza trust, where najua Rahma, she's the custodian. You are the custodian of the kids. There's no yani hiyo ina competition, Rahma. You are the custodian of the kids. When you set a motion where you can save with this person and they trust you. Kwanza wewe ndio ulifungua account ukachapa 30,000 yako wa kwanza. Sema mwanamke amefocus bwana. Kumbe mvutia.
Lakini wengine wetu sisi tulinukia tukiambua lete pesa nikuwekee, alafu ambao zingiliwa na panya.
Hao ni mahasidi.
Thank you. I think just a punchline because you're winding up.
Okay. So I think Mariam, you talked about, you asked, what was the question? Why is an 8 to 5
breaking marriages?
And I think one of the reasons why an 8 to 5 will break a marriage is the lack of boundaries, which I think on both sides, I don't know, say men only or women only.
Yes.
You find women are highly emotional beings. So unapata pale nyumbani kuna shida, and at work there's a man, maybe a colleague, who's noticed you're not yourself, what's happening, and they start talking, and then the boundaries are blurred, and now you start having work spouses. Yeah. So you've
that
stopped
happens
working.
a lot.
Yeah, it happens a lot.
That happens
I
a
think
lot.
In the recent past, we have seen colleagues who have died somewhere in lodges.
Yes.
Both parties are married and that kind of thing. So the lack of boundaries, I think, in the workspaces is also a factor that inachangia.
Ndo inachangiwa sana wakati mwanamke anapokuwa sasa huru kufanya kazi. Utaona society inakuwa wengi hawapendi kwa sababu wanaziendekeza zile fitna, huenda zikawa zaidi kuliko hata ile kazi aliyoajiriwa mtu. That's why they have that kind of a fear, I believe. Yes.
And I also want to just add in regards to the same, I also think you've said both boundaries. You're saying fitna ile wanaekea wanawake because they, in regards to the same, they stop focusing on the work and just focus on in regards to huyu mwanamke atakuwa anafanya ABCD, you know, like I also think that goes back to where we're saying we need to stop normalizing the things that men actually do, because if you're not keen, we said it in the other podcast, generations are changing. As Islam is not changing, but generations are changing. This generation that is coming, nipe nikupe, you know, like the other generation, mama zetu walikufa kwa mandoa, yani watakufa hapo kwa hiyo ndoa liwe liwalo, and us, we've learned from that. We're not doing that anymore. So if you're going to do something wrong, and especially the fact that I understand deen, I know what you're doing is punishable by Allah, I sit back and I say no. Now akina mama zetu, they had that information, but they had a lot of culture, so wanafunika. So if we can move to a space where we're not normalizing what maybe men do, because wanawake sisi we wanasema mwanamke akicheat ni emotionally, it's not even physically. Mwanamke, so unasikia amesema you have somebody you can talk to. Inatokea pale una mtu anakusikiza, anafanya nini, the vulnerability, exactly. But men, it's physical. It's just like I can go anywhere anytime and get anything. So if we can remove this ni shaitan, but if you can remove this notion maybe sensitizing what men do and actually putting it across, like we are all doing something wrong in regards to we are both working and you're doing this, like tusiake moja ina wait ingine ina wait, because I think that's also what we do a lot. We as society we say like mwanamume ni hivyo tu, wote ni hivyo, wanakuaga na watu wa kazi,
na hivyo imezima kila kitu.
So if we can just put it as a balance in a scope where we say like, if you're going to talk to women at work, it's wrong, and if I'm going to talk to men at work, it's wrong, but that's where the balance will never get.
Thank you very much, ladies. This is Annisa, Talk Show Kenya.